This video is going to teach you how to multiply a decimal times a decimal and what happens when you're multiplying decimals times decimals. Let's start with a very basic multiplication problem. Let's look at 2 times 3. What does 2 times 3 really mean? Well, we probably all know the product is 6, but what is the job of that 2? All right, this 2, its job is to tell us how the number of groups. The number of groups. So 2 tells you the number of groups, where your 3 tells you the size of a group. So basically they're saying if we have a group with the size of 3, this is the size of one group, we need to have 2 groups of them. A better way to think about this is actually getting rid of the times sign and replacing that with a word. Let's replace that with the word of. So now we have 2 groups of 3, and that might make it more visual on what's going on. Let's think about that basic elementary stuff with this problem, 4/10 times 8/10. Well, let's start with replacing the times sign with the word of. And then think about 4/10 being the number of groups and 8/10 being the size of a group. We're going to have 4/10 of 8/10. Right away, you should start thinking about that. Are we even going to have 8/10? Do we have one full group? No, we have 4/10 of the 8/10. Let's go ahead and show what 8/10 looks like. 8/10 would be 8 columns or 8 rods of this grid. So here we just shaded in 8/10 of this grid. Now, the number of groups of this 8/10 we have is 4/10. We don't have a full group. We have 4/10 of a group of 8/10. So we don't have all this. We need to show that we have 4/10 of this. To show that, let's model this as 4/10 rows. Since there's 10 rows in the whole grid, and we need 4/10 of it, this would be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. So the amount that got shaded twice, or let me outline it real quick for us. This amount right here is the amount that is the 4/10 of the 8/10 we used. Well, how much is there? Well, if you count this, it'd be a 8 by 4 grid. So there's 32 squares here, and each square is worth a hundredth. So in reality, we have 32 hundredths. It's important to realize that our product, 32 hundredths, is less than 8/10 because we couldn't use the full 8/10. We only could use 4/10 of it. I hope this makes it more clear on what's happening when you multiply a decimal times a decimal. Thank you for watching my video on multiplying a decimal times a decimal.